Cutting without a mat on your Cameo 4 is a fantastic feature, but it can be very frustrating. A couple of the things we're going to go over today are how to resolve some issues. Issue number 1 is what happens when your vinyl is not correctly aligned. If your vinyl ends up doing something like this on your Cameo, then chances are it's because when you loaded your vinyl onto your Cameo, there was a slight misalignment and your vinyl wasn't 100% parallel with the marker. Luckily, there are a couple of things you can do to avoid this problem. My favorite way of resolving this problem is track enhancing. Track enhancing is a feature that most people don't know about in the send panel. Essentially what it does is it rolls the vinyl the full length of the cut all the way through and back on the Cameo. It does this before any cuts have even started, so you'll know right off the bat if your vinyl is skew or not. It is probably the one thing that is going to save your you-know-what, and I strongly recommend using this if you're going to be cutting without a mat. In order to enable track enhancing, navigate to the Send panel in Silhouette Studio, select the correct material, click on More. At the bottom you will see track enhancing. Ensure that that is enabled if you are going to be cutting without a mat and using track enhancing. Then you can click Save. The second solution to alignment problems is to move the clip further left. I know that may sound counterintuitive, but there is another groove more to the left-hand side of the roller that will allow the vinyl to roll all the way through in the middle of the vinyl and not on the edge. Your room for error, or your F-up factor, is a lot lower. With that being said, you do still need to make sure that your vinyl is 100% perfectly aligned on the far left roller. Even if you move your second roller to that left-hand panel side and you're not aligned on the left-hand roller, you will still get your vinyl coming off the rails. The second issue that I've seen with cutting without a mat is that the clip isn't clipped in properly. This is more of a problem with the Cameo 3 than it is with the Cameo 4, purely because that roller used to clip out of place every so often. It drove me nuts. I was so glad to have the Cameo 4 where it now clips in a little bit differently. But if you do not clip it into the groove, then it could be potentially problematic. So you do need to make sure that you are clipping it into the groove. Another player has joined the game. So if you haven't correctly clipped that in, it will clip out in the middle of a cut, and sometimes that will cause you problems. The third issue that I normally see is with the vinyl itself. If the vinyl you have has been rolled too tightly, it may be reluctant to flatten out a little bit, and it can actually get caught in one of the grooves at the back of the Cameo. And that can look something like this, and it can also be very problematic for any future cuts that you may have. If having your vinyl rolling up like that is one of the problems that you're experiencing, then one of the solutions may be to simply place it under something heavy. If you are not able to do that because obviously it's, a super long piece of vinyl like this one, you may need to roll it the other way. So this sometimes works, but it can obviously create creases in the vinyl. So it's not always the best method. So you'll need to roll it the other way like that. So you just kind of take it on this side, flip it over. The first part is always going to be the hardest, and I would suggest you taking your time with it, because if you can crease this part quite easily. So you kind of tuck it underneath at the back, and then I'm just trying to roll it under on that side to get it to roll the other way. It's always much easier once you've gotten started. So What you can do then is to leave it in this position for a while, maybe even try and wind it a little bit tighter. And you will notice that there's a little bit of a white line on this side. What might happen with some of these vinyls, especially these foil type vinyls, is that they don't have as much stretch as the other vinyls do. So you might get creases in the vinyl and you can just squeegee those out. So what you could do is if you know that you're going to be using this vinyl in a couple of days' time, you can do this ahead of time, roll it the inverse method and leave it in your vinyl holder like that, or take some hair bands or some rubber bands, wrap it around there to keep it in this kind of a position. Then what might happen if you want to kind of make it go a little bit faster, you can always try making it a little bit tighter, bearing in mind that the tighter you make it, the vinyl might not like it and it might crease. So just keep that in mind as well. And let's see if that's made a difference. Okay. So there's that crease that I was talking about. Now, one of the best ways to get rid of the crease is with a scraper. However, these scrapers, if you're taking out creases like this, you might actually leave scratch marks on the vinyl. So I prefer a scraper like this that has a felt tipped on the one side, so that when you brush it out, you won't actually leave scratch marks. So you can just gently push out the crease. And you might find that that is a lot more forgiving in your Cameo, and you might get a little bit of a better cut without a mat. Because typically what happens is when this curls, it'll go past the roller, and there are little grooves inside the Cameo at the back, and it will hook on those grooves and bunch up just like you saw in the video, and that will obviously breed big problems for your cut. You won't be able to cut it at all. So I would definitely suggest, if you're going to be using this kind of a vinyl, to do that method. These are the problems that I've encountered myself and the solutions that I've experienced. If you've tried all of these solutions and you're still struggling to cut without a mat, then it may be due to something else that I have not encountered before, which means that I would not have had a chance to troubleshoot it yet. So I apologize. So if you let me know what kind of problem you're having, maybe I will be able to help. Leave me a comment if you are experiencing these problems, and I'll see if I can help you. Well, thanks very much for joining me today. I hope to see you in my next video. If you found this content helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel for more craft-related tutorials in the future. So from me and Fred, thanks very much for joining, and I'll see you next time. And remember, be kind to someone today. See you soon.